All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Max Jaw here with our advocate and jabroni himself, Mr. No BS, and a new jabroni in our stable. We have Raymack, who is also a backyard wrestler and a boxer and a badass dude. And a new addition to our Jobber universe, Jobberverse. Yeah, we're all superstars in our Jobberverse. I can't tell you, man. The superstar thing fucking stuck with me, and I hate it. Every time I hear superstar, I hate it.
They're not wrestlers; they're superstars.
That's right. And then I just twitch. But how you guys doing today?
Doing all right.
Yeah.
Doing good.
Rymack just had his boxing match. First boxing match, right? First official boxing match.
Yeah,
And
I did. It was an experience. I want to keep on doing it, man. I really do.
And he counted he didn't count the lights. You didn't count the lights because you lost by decision. But I was just gonna say you're definitely a jobber. So I can't help it. I'm already starting to talk shit. But we already have a first question here from our Jobberverse, and it's from GC 1986. And he starts with jabronis. I think he's talking to you guys. He says, what the fuck is going on with Punk, Young Bucks, and now WWE? Is Punk out or what? You guys go ahead. Anyway.
Well, my take on this whole thing, man. So Punk, ever since Punk being in AEW, has caused a lot of problems. Before there was minor problems in AEW, and now after the All Out weekend, man, it probably caused the biggest issue in pro wrestling history. One of the biggest issues. And Punk should be out. I don't think he's going to be. He's going to go on his little 8-month hiatus, and he's going to come back and probably cause more problems. But he's not out, man. He's really not. I wish he was, and I wish he would not come back to wrestling ever again. Everything that was said about him was... Yes, really. He should go and never come back.
So what is the deal with Punk in the locker room? Like I didn't think. Obviously, now it's happened twice where Punk was bitching about it, but when he went with WWE, when he left WWE, I felt like what he talked about on the Cole Cabanas podcast was like, okay, well, these are legitimate concerns, with infection and doctors just filling them up with antibiotics and Ryback just working stiff with him. Although I think Ryback was giving him the stiffy. I just don't know what like now it's happened again where Punk has issues. So obviously, there's something going on that Punk is doing that's not kosher with people. But what do you know? What have you heard on that? Like, what is CM Punk's thing? Like, what is he doing to divide a fucking locker room?
Before we get into that, I would dare say it's the third time because he
VW
burned all his bridges in TNA as well when he was there. Run.
Okay. So where there's smoke, where there's fire, there's fire.
Yeah, pretty much.
But so what is Punk fucking doing? Like, what's going on?
Well, during so Bobby Fish, he recently just got released from AEW, and he's been talking a lot about this subject on his podcast. And if you guys don't recall, they had a match back in October of last year. And Bobby Fish said he didn't get the vibe with CM Punk. Like, he wasn't, like, CM Punk was kind of a douchebag and quote unquote cunt.
Really?
To him. Yeah. And like Bobby Fish even called him out for like an MMA fight because Bobby Fish is trained. Like his background is MMA and like and what's the other fighting style? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but Bobby Fish wanted to call him out for an MMA fight because
judo.
He knows he can last, and I think it is judo
or wrestling.
But he's been talking a lot about that subject on his podcast lately about CM Punk just being a total asshole.
Sorry, guys.
So there's just more and more news coming out about people saying, yeah, CM Punk this and CM Punk that, and it's with multiple people saying it. Obviously, it has to be true, right? Like, if one person says something, then it could just be some BS. But with multiple people saying the same stuff, then it's a reoccurring thing, and at this point, it's just not going to change.
I would dare say it's no BS. He's just constantly, like you said, getting called out left and right by different people, and I think he seems to have a superiority complex where he thinks he's better than everybody else, and like his shit doesn't stink or something, and it's just clearly not the case.
Yeah, but what the fuck is he doing in the locker room? Like, I don't understand. Like, he's definitely, like, people are just not wanting to work with him, not wanting to be around him. So what would he be doing? Like, what's he causing? Like, go ahead.
It seems like he will, like, he runs his mouth too much and will just talk off the cuff about people and not back it up or say things that are really more so what he's doing instead of what they're doing. Like, he will accuse people of doing shit when it's more so him. That's the problem.
See, like, unlike Mr. Uncle Dave, as Jim Cornette calls him, we don't really have anyone in the locker room. So I don't know. Like, I don't know what the. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I personally am not a huge fan of the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega either. So I didn't know that, like, this kind of cemented for me that actually Punk is the problem. But what he said about Hangman Page, I thought that was, I mean, that was a legit thing. When Hangman Page, well, I don't know. Like, if they have problems in the locker room, then that's probably what Hangman Page referenced. But also, him saying that he wouldn't take any advice. You guys heard that, right?
Yeah, I don't know how much of that's actually legit.
Oh, so he didn't say that.
He said it.
Oh, he did.
But I don't know. I don't know how much of that was him. Like, I don't actually take advice, or him fucking around with people when he said it.
Yeah. See, like, you know what that sounded like to me. Like, when he said, like, I don't take any advice, it sounded like somebody who's young just saying something stupid, and or just not thinking and just yapping. But
I kind of took it as, like, as somebody has probably said something to him backstage. Maybe it was Punk, because it would make sense with all this stuff. But someone saying something to him, and him jokingly was like, or like maybe Punk said something to him, and he didn't take Punk's advice, and Punk was like, "Well, you don't take any advice." So he said it in that setting sarcastically to kind of take a shot.
Yeah. Well, it's like that's what I thought. So when I watched that whole, and now it's like another word. So first word is superstar, and now it's scrum, media scrum. It's just, can we just, like, it's an interview, whatever. So during that whole thing that CM Punk did, I mean, he talked about Cole Cabana, and that was 2 years ago. And he was mad at the basically Dave Meltzer and all the other people that were just writing shit about him anyway. And the only thing that he referenced to me was, well, outside of the EVPs, I guess, but the only thing he referenced was Adam Page saying that advice thing. And so I'm like, is this what he's hot over? Like,
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's it was all. The latest reports coming out are saying it was basically all planned. That when he came back weeks ago, he said, "Y'all wait till that press conference. It's going to be, something's going to happen." So he knew he was going to go through all this shit. He was going to say all this shit that he did. So I think he was been trying to stir the pot.
Well, CM Punk could have avoided all that. Like, why do you have to go out there and just air out dirty laundry like that regardless? Like, he could have avoided the whole Colt Cabana thing. Like, me personally, if I had issues with one of you two, I'm not gonna sit here and just trash talk y'all and then put you down. Adam Page, one of the biggest guys in the company, just gets buried by CM Punk, and then now everyone's like, torn between CM Punk and Adam Page. Just like, what the hell with all this stuff going on, and he could have avoided all that. Why did he have to go out there during the press conference and just talk down to people, and then literally say like the EVPs could go run a target or something like that, whatever the heck he said on that.
He
along
said they
those
couldn't
lines.
run a target.
They couldn't run a target. Like, why do you say that? Well, there's no need to say that.
That doesn't make any sense.
He just wanted to talk.
People always talk about, like, if this world would get along, if people were just to treat each other better, and if anything that could have been avoided, Punk could have easily talked the things out with Adam Page one-on-one. Say, hey, man, let's talk about something. Or, like, if you don't care about the whole Colt, like, Punk, if you don't care about Colt Cabana, don't even think about it. Don't even talk about it. And, like, but the media scrum or whatever, that Tony Khan likes to do after pay-per-views is get questions from the people, and you don't necessarily have to answer them. You can plead the fifth on it.
That's the thing, though. Nobody asked him anything. He just went in and started in on that rant.
Exactly. Like I was saying, Punk could have avoided it.
He fished for that fucking rant.
He picked some random dude in the crowd and was like, "Oh, are you friends with this guy?" Just so he could go on that rant.
And the dude, was that Alvaro? Oh, I forget who it was, but he didn't give him that ammunition to say Colt Cabana. And so he said, like, he said something along the lines of, like, you're ruining my shtick, or you're ruining my, basically you're ruining what I'm trying to talk about.
Right.
And then he's like, that's where I, like, for the first time, bro, there it is. For the first time, I saw, like, I looked at CM Punk and I'm like, this dude's fucking deranged. Like, there's something else going on, and it's like, I may be making shit up, but I just, like, he bothered me on like an emotional level. After that, because, like, he's fishing for it. He literally was fishing for it, and then unless, however, see, like, I think the reason he was trying to talk about it is probably because some of these dirt sheets, which I try not to read this. Like, I just want to watch the show. I try personally, like, I try not to read too many, like, dirt sheets and things like that. They must have talked something about Colt Cabana and Punk still for him to go there. But if you just came in as a fan who is not necessarily reading dirt sheets and just watching the show or watching the press afterwards, to me, Punk looked deranged. He literally looked like he's like, I can't believe I'm talking about this 2 years later. I can't believe I'm talking about this, but yet at the same time, he's the one who set that whole topic up.
Right.
And I was like, so if I'm not reading dirt sheets, I have no fucking idea. And I'm just sitting here going, like, this dude is full of his own shit, man. Like,
he was absolutely fishing. There's some end goal there that we're not exactly sure what it is.
But I was disturbed by it. Like, it just seemed like this dude's like, what the fuck? However, I gotta say, for the very first time in my life, I went and watched an episode of Being the Elite.
And I think everybody did it all.
And say what you will about this. Say what you will about CM Punk doing this shit over and over again and creating all this trouble. The fact, like, when he was just calling Adam Page, I don't even remember exactly what he called him, but he basically like didn't call him like a piece of garbage.
There's something about him being a brainless dumb fuck or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he is getting so many eyes, and it's like WWE just had Vince McMahon leave on shit stuff, man. And we can anyway. I had a long rant about that. And Triple H is doing some great things in WWE, and they finally went to Great Britain after, 30 fucking years, premium event bullshit, because it's no longer pay-per-views. Anyway, it was a big deal. And all of that, Triple H, everything got overshadowed by this. And so, like, in a sense, like, this is helping everybody, even though there's shit flying, with Punk. I mean, what do you guys think? Like, I can't help but think that there's, like, even if it's not a work, it's still working for AEW.
Right. Well, I do want to touch on one
Go ahead.
thing about CM Punk. He talked about the younger talent. He came back for the younger talent. Like he cut that promo over a year ago coming back. He wanted to help the younger talent. Well, listen.
How's he helped him?
Realistically, what young talent has he helped? I'm gonna name off some guys he has beaten and had matches with over the past year now, a little over a year. So he debuted, defeated Darby Allin.
Mm-hmm.
How did that help Darby Allin? Didn't. He also defeated Daniel Garcia. How did that help Daniel Garcia? Daniel Garcia hasn't really peaked until this year. He's been having banger matches. He beat Daniel Bryan on TV, but he can't beat CM Punk on TV. Another name, Lee Moriarty. Not one of the top guys, but still he's a young, up-and-coming talent. He could have potential in the future. At the time, Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood. Wardlow, he defeated Wardlow. Sean Spears,
MJF.
Max Caster, and the most important one, MJF. Like, why did MJF get the shit end of the stick?
He beat Hangman.
While CM Punk went on to become world champion by defeating Hangman, yet another name. It just doesn't make any sense that CM Punk just technically went undefeated in AEW. The only times he lost was to MJF in CM Punk's hometown, and then again to Jon Moxley, which Punk deserved to lose because Jon Moxley's the AEW guy. You know how back in the day AJ Styles was Mr. TNA?
Yeah.
Jon Moxley's Mr. AEW. So that needs to stay like that. But for sure. But CM Punk said he came back to help the younger talent. Dude, you beating these younger talent ain't gonna help them. You need to sit here. If Punk were to go into that dog collar match at Revolution against MJF, the rivalry that was being built for like 6 months almost, it felt like, and you ended it there where CM Punk was just wrestling the younger talent after that, while MJF went on to be world champion at Double or Nothing. His AEW career might have been a little bit better, and him coming out, but it just doesn't make any sense because Tony Khan wanted it, the fans wanted it. Dude, these diehard CM Punk fans, I'm sorry, they're literally like oozing out the mouth for CM Punk. Like, yes, I love CM Punk coming back too. I loved it. It was great, but him just getting put over everybody, claiming that he's here to help younger talent and stuff. Dude, you don't have to be undefeated. You can go out there, tell a story, and lose, and still, be over. But in CM Punk's way, you can't just beat all the talent. But CM Punk, regardless of him winning or losing, he's still going to be over.
So CM Punk's record is 21-2 in
yes.
AEW.
Yes.
So, like, why would you do that? So this is like sort of a Goldberg treatment almost.
Well, it was for a while.
So, why would you do something like this? Hey, like CM Punk can still win. Like he can still win and put people over. He doesn't have to lose to put people over, so long as they give him a good match where you believe that CM Punk was at a verge of losing, or where CM Punk was challenged incredibly. that's kind of the point of putting talent over, but not yet not having your top star lose, or you have your top star lose any steam by actually winning. But this 21-2 means that it's like anyone who actually beats Punk, that win means something. And when Moxley beat Punk in like what 30 seconds?
It was a few minutes, yeah.
Oh, was it a few minutes? Okay, it just seemed
It
like
was,
it
yeah,
was
like
very
3 minutes.
quick.
It did seem like that, but it was like almost 3 minutes or something.
That to me signaled that there's something else going on. There's some shit going on here. And then also Punk like gave it up, if you will, so easily to Moxley. And so like his record at 21-2, and he comes back and that's one of the two he lost. So he was 21-1 before he lost to Moxley, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the fact it's like it's just so weird to me, because if he's fighting in the locker room and he's trying to show off that he would put people over who are worth it, obviously he thinks Moxley's worth putting over, and especially in that manner, it's like it's like schizophrenic. Like it's weird, but the reason you'd want Punk, like I think you'd want Punk with that many wins, is so every time he wins, it means something. Or every time he loses to somebody, it really means something. But
So
how long
with
did
that
he
argument,
sign? Do you guys know? Like,
don't know.
how many years did he sign up for?
Oh, he definitely signed. I would probably say 5 years.
Yeah, I don't know if it was that long. I want to say it was 2 to 3, but
You see,
don't
like
know.
I would think that at the tail end, then he would be losing a lot more to put people over.
But you look at it with the way you were just talking about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Take Jericho, for example, who is feuded with most of the same guys that Punk has, and those guys have come out stronger after their feuds with Jericho. You can't say the same with their feuds with Punk.
Mm,
They got pushed to the back burner afterwards.
mm. I mean, yeah, it's like if he's coming out and talking about putting people over, especially the young talent, and he doesn't.
Now, mind you, I don't want to sit here and switch off topics, but I did mention John Moxley, and then also CM Punk beating John Moxley, but John Moxley has only lost, tiny handful of matches in the past, year and a half
Mm-hmm.
on AEW. He's lost like 3 or 4 times. But the thing is, in a way, John Moxley's elevating talent.
Yeah, so the guys come out of feuds with him stronger. Their trajectory is still going up after feuding with him.
Dude, like,
Wheeler Yuta.
I don't want to go off topic. Yeah, I was gonna say Wheeler Yuta. I don't want to go off topic on the whole CM Punk thing, but I wanted
Go ahead.
to top on that topic with see, like I'm gonna keep on repeating myself, but CM Punk coming back and not doing what he said he was gonna do is just not cool at all.
Mm.
And I would like to know what you guys know that CM Punk fan that was crying.
No.
Yeah, on the first comeback. It was mean. When he first returned, there was a guy in the crowd that they caught crying, and people were giving him shit.
I want to know.
Oh, that was a hell of
his
a comeback,
opinion.
man. That pop
Yeah,
was.
I want to know his opinion on the whole CM Punk thing. He's a diehard CM Punk fan.
Clearly. But the thing, like, that... Was there any way that Punk coming back could go uphill from that return?
No.
Like, that moment
Tough,
was just
tough.
so wild that I don't think it could go anywhere but downhill.
You know what gave me like red
This part
flags on Punk? What like? So I was so excited when he came. That sounds wrong.
Everybody was, man. Everybody was.
Oh, I was so excited. But one thing that he said to me that I thought was very like, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Was a couple of shows after, he went out and he said, like he would just come on like at the beginning of the show and just talk to the crowd, and he would get standing ovation, and all that bullshit. But then he said he is going to keep coming out here and talking
until they get tired of
him. And I'm like, no, like that just sounded so wrong to me. I'm like, what the fuck are you?
And
No.
And I very quickly got tired of him
It's
because
too,
of
yeah, it's too late. Once we get
it's
tired of
one
you, it's too
thing-
fucking late.
It's one thing when you come out and you do something different, but when you come out and you say the same exact shit week after week, then yeah, people are gonna get tired of you real fucking quick.
I listed off all of his opponents, and then the weeks he wasn't scheduled for a match, he was announced to like talk.
He was on,
Or
he
cut a
had
promo with MJF.
or was on commentary. Pretty much every.
Yeah, it's like he was announced for every Dynamite, or at least if not that Dynamite, he was on the Rampage.
Well, he's a draw.
He was
man.
probably the only consistent guy on AEW TV in the past year. The only guy that probably didn't miss a show before he ended up getting injured. And you want to know how he got injured after Double or Nothing?
Yeah, he jumped into the crowd. Yeah.
Dude, that's the dumbest. That's the dumbest way to get injured.
Hit his foot on the guardrail or something when he jumped.
Yeah.
And then
that was unfortunate.
he got injured at all out. Like, dude, how fragile do you have to be? I understand you're 45 or whatever. How old, I don't care how old he is, but I understand like you're at a decent age. But how fragile can you be?
I don't know, man. I don't know. He just tore his tricep too.
Yeah, I'm saying he got injured at all out. Like, how fragile can you be?
Yeah, so they've said his tricep, but they've also said
bicep.
He may have a partial tear in his pec as well.
Oh Jesus! And he just won the championship again, so they're gonna vacate it.
Yeah, and then they vacated it. Yeah.
Oh, that's so dude, that's so not good for the title.
No. So he's had the title twice for combined
5 days.
Won the title the first time, got injured on Dynamite, had to had to do the interim thing literally that same week.
And
then this time won the title, had to drop it on Dynamite again. He has not made it a full week on either title reign.
No. Are they going to do another interim, or it's just they're still?
No, they're doing a world title run.
Yeah,
or a title tournament.
Oh, that's right.
Along with the trios. I mean, we did crown new world trios champions. I want to know about your guys' take on also Kenny, like the Bucks and Kenny Omega as well, on that whole suspension.
Well, yeah.
They're gonna. We don't know how long the suspension is. Like, they're all gonna be gone for a little bit. It seems like.
Yeah. They're gonna be gone until the legality side is taken care of. Once the legality's done, they'll be back.
Well, there's some news on Young Bucks with the WWE.
Yes, but a big thing going for them is conveniently the chief legal officer for the company was in the locker room when all this happened. She had basically met Punk when Punk came off stage because of his rant and went into the locker room with him to talk about that. So when all this stuff went down, she was there, and she has come out and said, Punk and Steel's side of them barging into the room and all that stuff is bullshit. That didn't happen. She's pretty much flat out said Omega and the Bucks are correct in their story of what happened. So that doesn't look good for Punk either.
Just because I don't like the Young Bucks, and this is where Raymack and I are gonna have fun. Just because I don't like them, doesn't mean that they're not correct in the situation. I don't understand Young Bucks, but that doesn't mean that it's like and Kenny Omega too. It's I wasn't sure why Cody left. Do you guys know why Cody left?
Well, he did put out a tweet after the stuff saying that this is, then you wonder why I left.
Yeah, well, that doesn't really.
I think it's partially just the lack of structure there.
Yeah.
I think he was the structure, and because he and TK didn't see eye to eye on things, the structure fell apart, and he's like, "All right, I'm getting out of here." Before it came crashing down around him.
Yeah. Well, see the okay, so no structure. So that structure was in place before Punk was there. The no
Yes.
structure was in place before Punk got there. And so when Cody left, your EVPs were more along the side of Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, right? They all have say. And that's a lot of people to have say. So I feel like there's more to it than just Young Bucks didn't do anything, Kenny Omega didn't do anything. It's probably like a thing of like just a lot of egos.
I'm not so sure they have much of a say, to be honest.
Oh,
Because
go
I
ahead.
mean, this time last year, the talk was TK was removing the EVP rules from them.
Why are there still EVPs?
I don't know if that they necessarily are.
Oh, I
I
see.
don't
So
know if
it's
that's
a
just
title.
I don't think I don't know if it's just not just like a, we're still going to refer to them as EVPs to act as if things aren't crumbling around.
Got it. So
Because as far as I can tell, they don't have any actual say. They definitely don't have any say on terms of the booking.
got it.
TK has flat out said multiple times, he's like, I write the show, I do the booking, this is me. And different wrestlers and different coaches have come out and said, he doesn't really listen to us when we try to offer ideas for it. And then I think they have I think they're responsible for certain bits. Like I know Kenny's responsible for the gaming division, and he helps train for the women's division, but I don't think he's actually booking anything or making any final decisions on that stuff.
Gotcha. So, well, why did these people get under Punk's crow? Is that the right word?
I don't know.
Well, why did they get under his skin? Like, why are there a problem? Is it I don't know, man. It seems to me like there's like an ego thing just clashing.
Yeah. I don't think they see eye to eye in terms of how things are done.
Obviously not.
During that scrum, Punk said something about I'm trying to build a business, blah 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 blah. Like
it's very personal. Like
right, like the way he said it was like AEW is mine. I'm trying to do something here. When if you take Omega and the Bucks and Cody, for that matter, out of the picture, there is no AEW. It wouldn't have happened from the start without that group.
Yeah.
So trying to say like, oh, this is my company, we need to do things this way to a bunch of guys that have gotten it to the point that it's at now, or the point it was at prior to Punk coming in, it's probably not the best way to go about it.
Yeah. I mean, there's also like an aspect of friendships, and I don't think it's good for AEW to have a group that can potentially have some say. Maybe they just have titles of EVPs, but it's like having a group that's their own clique. It's almost pun intended in a sense, because
I was going to say, because if you think about it, right now you have the CEO of WWE is married to the chief creative everything, who's in charge of pretty much everything on the day-to-day show, who just promoted his best friend to second in charge of that, who just rehired one of his other friends to the head of live everything. So you got the same thing going on in WWE, but there's a lot more structure around it.
Yeah.
With that keeps things in line.
Yeah, but it's so you're gonna. I mean, we could talk about Triple H later. That could potentially, like, nepotism is a problem.
Yeah, I just think there's too many. The thing that will prevent them from going down the same route is the
WCW.
Being publicly traded and having to answer to stockholders.
Yeah.
If they start, the nepotism gets too far, the stockholders are gonna be like, no. You're costing us money, and that's going to change things. That's not going to happen in AEW because it's TK and his daddy's money.
Well, any last thoughts on this, Raymack?
Yeah, I wanted to say one more thing. I think the best thing that we did get out of the whole media scrum kind of happy it happened, actually, for a few reasons. One, for people to actually see the real side of CM Punk, um, because it's either now or never. So, he gets suspended. Obviously, he was going to be gone anyways for a little while because he got injured. So now he's going to be gone. But it was definitely interesting to see how Dynamite was going to happen on Wednesday. Now, no CM Punk, no Bucks, no Kenny Omega. That last Dynamite was very important. Without those lead guys around, so there was a meeting. Moxley, Jericho, and Bryan were like, I guess the locker room leaders, and
I like that. I like them. Like as AEW would probably do a lot better if they were the leaders.
So
I think overall,
Dynamite. Oh no, they are for sure.
Good.
I said
But
another instance, just like saying a little while ago, AEW wouldn't have gotten gotten as far as they have if it weren't for the Elite. If they didn't have Chris Jericho,
right.
they wouldn't have gotten a TV deal. They wouldn't have gotten half the shit they got if Jericho wasn't the face to start the company.
But it was a very important episode of Dynamite because it's like they were hitting the restart button. Now they're getting a new world champion coming in, and they crowned new trios champions, which it was Death Triangle, and they should have won it in the first place. And then they took on Best Friends. So Death Triangle and Best Friends are two OG factions in AEW. And it felt, that match reminded me of I guess we can say nostalgia AEW, because I want to say that because this was before all the guys started coming into AEW. Because those six, they were part of AEW before anything happened.
It's like the oldies.
And so it was very important for that match to be on the card. And then, it was, MJF returning for the first time in months. So him coming out, cutting his face / heel promo. And then I understand they're doing this, they don't have a world champion right now, but they will in less than 2 weeks. They're going to have a world champion. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with AEW. I'm not sure how it depends on how long the Elite's off TV. It possibly might be past Full Gear, which is January or November 19th. Because they're not being advertised for it right now, but who knows? They could just return whenever the fuck. But it's gonna be very interesting to see without 4 top tier guys on the show. Not saying no one else is not top tier, but I'm very curious to see. So last Wednesday's Dynamite was a refresher for me, at least. Now seeing more people get opportunities like Death Triangle, getting what they deserve. I should have been Best Friends, but a little discussion for another day.
So the Punk thing, like you said, it's in one way it's a good thing because it kind of causes that reset and makes them focus back on those guys that had kind of been pushed to the side.
Yeah.
From the other standpoint, though, did it in MJF's case, did it take the wind out of the sails?
No.
Because the moment, for me watching, the moment I wanted to see this whole entire time was MJF come back and beat CM Punk for the title. Because that's the story.
That would have
long
been
term.
nice.
That's the story that makes sense. So
You have
MJF come back, have his big moment. You set up in that big moment him and Punk, and then Punk takes that away from everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously MJF eventually is going to face whoever wins this tournament, but you had to think that MJF, being a New York guy, was going to have his moment at Grand Slam, and now that moment's taken.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is my opinion on the tournament. Obviously, it's not going to be Sammy Guevara or Jericho.
I don't know. I think logically now, Jericho makes the most sense. Because I don't put it back on Mox to have another short reign. If the goal was to put it on MJF, I don't put it on Mox and have another month or 2 reign, because that doesn't help Mox or the title any.
Moxley doesn't need a title.
No, and he doesn't. You're right. He doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
He's can be the guy without having the belt. But MJF and Jericho is the money feud again
Yeah, that
with the
would.
guys that are there.
And they're both in factions, so that would make sense.
And if MJF's going to win it, if he's not going to win it off Punk, then winning off Jericho to me is the next best option
Guys,
based on the
That
history of the company so far.
MJF
that would make sense.
MJF is the fucking AEW to me.
Yeah, to a lot of, I know, like I or Ryan earlier said that Mox is the guy, but to me, like you said, MJF to me is the guy. Or to me, Jericho is higher up on that totem pole just for what he does, all around for the company. That his tenure and long term career has allowed that company to do.
Yeah. I think. Well, we get off subject here on Moxley. There's a question about Young Bucks in the WWE, and do you guys think is Punk going to be out or what?
I mean, I think Punk is going to be out. I think at some point during this recovery time, which they're projected at 8 months, I think. I think at some point during it, he's going to quietly be let go. That it won't be a headline. It eventually will leak, but I don't think they're going to make a big we've let CM Punk go kind of thing. I think he's just going to quietly be let go. It may have already been done so, and they're just not letting people know yet.
Wouldn't you it's like if I was booking this, and I don't know if this is right, but I would this is like all of a sudden I have all these angles that people are going to tune in to fucking see. And so letting Punk go, letting Young Bucks or Kenny Omega, letting any of them go, even Adam Hangman Page, which I don't understand what the fuck. I know Hangman is for a cowboy type of thing, but it just anyway, and that's another topic. I don't. I would totally try to keep all these guys and be like, listen, I know you guys don't fucking see eye to eye. You all talk shit about each other, all these things, but the amount of money I can draw, the amount of people I can probably bring to the product, if you all fucking stayed, would be wow.
So from one point of view, you could say that yes, we can make a ton of money off of this. But if you're looking at it from the locker room point of view of, guys already saying that TK has no hold over his locker room, he has, doesn't have the structure there. Do you risk pissing off a large amount of your talent by holding on to specifically Punk when a lot of these guys want him gone and potentially leading to a mass exodus at some point, hurting your long-term product over a short-term payout?
Well, you absolutely can get into that position where, people are like, I don't want to re-sign. But
Right.
he's already there in a sense. Like MJF doesn't want to I don't know. He's in until 2024, right?
Yes.
He-
And I think that's going to get cleared up before then.
I hope so because
I think a big part of his problem was he had issues with Punk too. I mean, he talked about Punk being his hero, but there was clearly some backstage stuff there.
Yeah.
And getting rid of a guy like Punk who's making the most money on the roster and using that money to pay guys like MJF who helped build the company is the right way to go on that. But you've got, the MJFs that don't want him there. You've got like some of the guys that have already talked about it, and the Bucks clearly don't want him there at this point. And they're a big piece of the company, whether people want them to be or not. Hangman with the entire Dark Order kind of are falling under that. There's a bunch of guys that didn't want to work with him in WWE. They definitely don't want to work with him now.
Well, I mean,
so
there's a reason.
Yeah, I don't know if you alienate a big chunk of the roster over one person.
Yeah, well,
I know there was, enough of an outroar over the Colt Cabana thing where people thought that Punk was the reason Colt was going to be released, and partially to keep tensions from him and Punk from happening. And the locker room apparently called TK out on it and said absolutely not, and kind of forced him to keep him on payroll.
So he's definitely not in control if they force him to keep him on the payroll.
Right, but it was basically you're not letting him go because of Punk, or a lot of us are leaving.
Yeah.
The same situation could still occur if it's you either let Punk go or we leave. And apparently the Bucks may be one of the ones that are thinking that way.
Which is the whole WWE question. Like, can they even, like, they're probably signed, since they all started, I assume they're all kind of signed the same time to 2024.
I know the Bucks signed an extension at some point.
Oh, okay.
I think their initial contract was 2 years.
Oh, okay.
They signed a new deal.
I don't want to see him in the WWE. I don't know about you guys.
I don't know. I kind of do and I kind of don't. Like, obviously they're not going to be to their full extent in WWE because they're going to have to be in some sort of containment to fit the WWE product. But just thinking of them against the Usos, for example, is definitely something I'd like to see.
I don't like the Usos.
You wouldn't want to see all the super kicks that would come out of it.
Oh,
but
God, I'd throw up.
Them against KO and Sammy would be a hell of a match, which, I mean, happened a lot back in the day in the Indies, but to see it on a mainstream level would be awesome. Or them against DIY if they come back together. I think there's the potential for some really good matches and stuff there. And, people think that the Bucks would never go there, but they have said, I don't know if anyone's read their book or listened to some of their interviews, but they are quite friendly with Triple H.
Yeah, did you read the book? Or?
I've read bits and pieces of it. I haven't been able to read the whole thing because I haven't gotten it, but they have said on many occasions, like before they went to sign to do the AEW thing, they had talked to Triple H then, and the consensus then was basically if Triple H was running the thing, then the Bucks would have gone there then. But because they would have been underneath Vince, that was their reasoning not to go.
Yeah. Well, what a fuck up. Vince just gets released, and you can just, like, I assume, I feel it, but this is an assumption, obviously, that a lot of people who went to AEW from WWE due to Vince McMahon are now going like, fuck.
Yeah. I mean, we know Malachi Black has already gotten his release, and it's conditional, so he can't do anything for a while. But when those conditions come up, you have to think he's going back. He's a Triple H guy, and his wife is there. And
it's Alina, right? Alina is his wife, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't understand why people like Malachi Black, but that's a different conversation.
He's different. I think his style is different. His presentation is different. I think his presentation is overkill in AEW. But I like his presentation in WWE. Well, NXT before he got called up. Yeah. I felt like the presentation was pretty perfect for him.
Yeah, that was probably the only time where he was semi interesting to me was in NXT. Okay, so there it's a possibility. So do you guys do you think that they're actually going to release? So no BS, you think that they're going to slowly just like silently release Punk halfway through his recovery?
Yeah, I think at some point before his recovery time is complete that he will be silently let go, or some sort of mutual agreement where they end up paying him a large chunk of money to just go away.
Which is going to happen.
Yeah, so TK is basically going to be like Vince McMahon with his women, except for to CM Punk.
He's just paying off people. Oh, that's hilarious. What about you, Raymack?
I mean, I agree with it. I mean, I could care less to see Punk, so I mean, I would hope he would go away.
You're a super kick party. Yeah.
Well, it's not even just that. Like, it's not even just that. It's just when Punk, my opinion on Punk has changed over the past few weeks. Well, I was a fan of him. I wasn't a fan of him beating Adam Page. I'm a fan of him. I wasn't a fan of him beating Moxley. And now I'm a fan of him, just leaving and not coming back. I hope he stays out of wrestling for good after this. So I want him gone. So I'm hoping he does get the boot. I feel like there's a chance that he doesn't, though. feel like just there's going to be a chance to where it's either going to get down to it's either the Bucks and Kenny Omega stay, because there's going to be a talk backstage. I think the Bucks, most likely the Bucks, they're going to give Tony Khan an ultimatum. They're going to be like, if he stays, we leave. And then Tony Khan's will like, I want Punk to stay. And the Bucks were, well, we're leaving, so they're going to go to WWE. And if that happens, then AEW is going to go down the shitter.
You can't. What's the best way to put this? The reason AEW will have so many problems is you can't have a mark running the business.
Ooh. And
TK is 100% a mark for CM Punk as well as others. But I mean, I've said it many a time. He is a spoiled brat with daddy money that will buy his friends like CM Punk, and then when things start to not to go his way, he's going to throw a fit like CM Punk, and something's going to happen to cause division.
I mean, do you think he's like? See, that's the thing. Like, I don't know Tony Khan. Like I don't know who he is, how he works. It's like all the stuff that we have information on him is secondhand or third hand or whatever. However many people this broken telephone thing went through. To me, when I see Tony Khan, it's like he almost looks like a cutesy kid. I'm not calling him cute. He's got this like adorable grin that it just doesn't belong in wrestling. But then I'm also like, you know what? Like maybe that's the fucking brain. Maybe that's the mind that'll actually do something.
His mind for the business seems to be really good. Like he does a lot. He comes up with a lot of good ideas. He seems to be really good at that kind of thing. But I mean, when you come off as such a fanboy. Okay, I signed CM Punk. The first thing I'm going to do is smile like a 3-year-old kid and hug him for 5 minutes on stage. Or the same thing with most of the guys that he signed. He acts like a kid seeing their parent for the first time in a week. Like he just hugs them and smiles like a goofy little child. And like you're clearly a mark for the person if you're doing that kind of shit. You're not coming off as professional whatsoever when that happens.
No. And we're at 52 minutes, by the way. So this was gonna be that long.
It was kind of two subjects in one.
No, this is good. I mean, it's like we're just covering all the videos, all the talking points. So we let it happen for about a week and then just cover all of it. I would, if I were I can't speak on Tony Khan. I just he strikes me like what really bothered me was when Tony Khan, when CM Punk was doing his interview, Tony Khan really kind of like he tried to jump in and he was saying some things to actually back up CM Punk, but CM Punk cut him off, and to me that was disrespectful.
Yep. There's no chance in hell somebody does that to Vince.
No.
Sorry,
you got no chance.
Yeah, I didn't purposely say that.
Oh, that was
that way, but like Vince, you either give him the respect he deserves, or you're not gonna be there.
No, and Vince had his faults. He went too far the other way.
Vince is not gonna let somebody else ruin his company or jeopardize his company, for that matter. The only person that's gonna fuck his company up is himself.
Like to me, like if I was Tony Khan when CM Punk said no, or he cut me off.
Mm-hmm. I'd have been like, "Excuse me, I'm still your boss."
He would have been like, "You're out."
Yeah, I wouldn't have been like, "You're out," but I'd have been like, "Hey, man, you need to calm down," or something. I would have interjected like remember who you're talking to.
No, yeah, or like know your role.
but TK is not that person. He's going to be a pushover, and okay, we just lost Ryan. He's going to let the guys that And like I said, he's going to buy his friends. He's not going to try to run them off.
What I would do if I were Tony Khan, I would establish like, okay, so I see what's going on. There's some trial and error. We tried to do things a certain way. It's not working. This is how it's gonna go from now on, which is I would
Right.
just assume more of a control. But then I would
There-
say it's like you Young Bucks are under contract, Page is under contract, MGF is under contract, Punk is under contract, and I'm gonna be like, this is what I want to do for business.
Right.
I want Punk with Page now. I want I don't know how I would position Punk with Kenny Omega. Young Bucks, I don't know how I would position it with Punk, maybe in a tag team later down the road. I don't know. But all these things would like fucking draw me some money. So I wouldn't want to release any of them. And I would be like, you either work with me or you're fucking out. I mean, I don't know what else to do. Like I would not necessarily just suck Young Bucks' dick just because they help build AEW.
No, I agree with that, but again, I don't think the Bucks are the biggest concern there. I think it's the large portion of the roster that are unhappy with Punk being there. You can afford to lose a handful of people, but how many people can you afford to let go?
Yeah.
Overall, without it hurting your business.
It's a shitty decision.
Like that lack of structure, the lack of I am the boss kind of thing is going to hurt him until he puts his foot down.
Yeah.
I mean, you've had Billy Gunn was on Renee Paquette's podcast a week or two ago.
With the oral sessions?
Yes. Well, I think it's just the sessions now, but
oh.
Yes. But he talked about it then. He's like the difference between working for Tony Khan and working for Vince. He's like, Vince this is what's going to happen. You're going to do it. If you don't want to do it, go home.
Yeah.
And TK, he's like, he does not have that ability in him. He's like, there is no structure here. It's really hard to get things done. And it's because Tony Khan will not put his foot down. And I was like, he flat out said it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Now we know. If we didn't know before, now we know.
If you don't know, now you know.
Yeah.
No.
And if you know, now you know again.
Oh, you didn't know?
Oh, your ass better tell you again. All right. Well, I hope that answers it.
It was a good question. Good questions. Both the Punk thing and the Bucks. I appreciate that question from
GC 1986.
Yes.
Somebody likes the Attitude Era, I bet. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna check us out, Jawbers.com. Get yourself a t-shirt or hoodie. Support all of us so we can talk, because we love to do that.
Buy that Jaws Squad shirt so I can get my $3.
That's right. I hope it's more than $3. Okay. All right, guys. Well, that's that one.